So I haven't seen this horse for 6 months, and this was the mare who a lot of people had followed her story. Flies are bad today. And she had been rounded up. She's a Mustang, and gone through the prison system and came out as the supposedly really well-trained, broke safe horse, and got to her new owner, and everything that had been compressed and contained through however training was done there came out. So she had learned to run backwards and went double barrel kick. She'd attack, she'd charge, she'd bite, she'd do all these different things. You basically couldn't get near the stall without her lunging at you. She saw no value in the human, which makes sense. And all of her responses were human taught, and that's where a lot of times people are shocked and they don't associate that the way in which we are interacting with the horse is teaching the horse either wanted or unwanted responses. And they don't recognize that in the long term, that so many of these things that we say or we view or we've been told are just random horse behavior really are not. You couldn't get on this horse's right side ever. You couldn't touch her, had no value. She couldn't express herself as far as being able to think, being able to make a decision about anything, being able to offer to participate in a reasonable manner. If you were anywhere on this side of her, she would completely melt down, swinging at you, trying to charge with her shoulder and so on. And I try and use these moments to highlight to people, because this was a topic that came up at a recent clinic, of how often we're taught to ignore the horse. We're taught to ignore the reasonable areas of defensiveness or concern, or where the horse is unsure and we're rushing them through it, or where we're looking for physical obedience but we're not checking into the quality of what is or isn't happening. How often we don't give horses the time to think through things. We don't look for processing, we just look for physical tolerance. And so as this horse is searching, I'm really gonna head in on her other side here in a minute. She's trying different things, and what we're looking for is that there is a reasonableness in her, and that there is a value in checking in, and that as she tries each piece, that we're going to address it until she can offer to let me in on the other side. Now, I could have just picked an argument with her, and I could have critiqued her and chased her and made her, but instead offering a two-way conversation to the horse allows opportunity for that horse to be able to think and search and try and offer in a reasonable manner to have new experiences. And if we ignore this, we then can't be upset with the horse when they come up with coping behaviors that perhaps we don't like or don't want, because they only have so many ways of expressing themselves. And if we're not going to believe them when they're subtle and reasonable, then they have to escalate until we acknowledge them. So I just thought this was a nice moment to share what can be when we learn to consider, address, acknowledge the horse in a way that has value to them, and what a dangerous and charging and aggressive and flailing horse can look like after we find that common communication language that has value to them.